Sage Wanderer here, coming at you from my front porch. Hey, I guess this is kind of a vlog, but it's also kind of a discussion on lifestyle, and so I guess it's part of my homestead project in that this is part of me lining out my new life and kind of organizing it, you know. I left really on the spur of the moment when I left Oregon and came here. And you guys rode that roller coaster ride with me, you know, from homeless in a tent in a windstorm to, you know, coming at you from my own front porch. Bought and paid for, really, by my viewers. And it's just, what a blessing. It's been such a great ride. But I realize I still got a lot of years to live. Me and my sister got into a discussion today that was almost an argument over whether my grandmother is turning 105 or 106. And we both agreed that we thought that she was born in 1913, and I won the argument because I believed my grandma's about to turn 106. I don't know, she's so old, none of us can remember how old she actually is. But she was, you know, born in the horse and buggy days, and now she's living in the internet age, which is giving way to the end of time, I think. You know, she's lived until the last days. I think that's what she's hanging on for, maybe. And of course, people know my mom is 80. Oh gosh, I gotta get this right. She's gonna be 86 this summer. And she still works 2 jobs, not because she has to, because she wants to. But she has a theory, if she just keeps moving, you know, the devil can't catch her. Death can't catch her, rather. You know, death can't catch her if she just keeps moving. So, but anyway, you know, I just wanted to talk about what's next for me. And also announce that I worked my first day of my new job today. And I took a job, I could call it a job, a part-time job, at my sister's cafe. But, you know, she's stepping away from the cafe. Things are happening that have to do with her divorce. And so I'm kind of dealing directly with her manager. And, you know, I walked in there one day, like last week, at lunchtime. I was just going to grab a burger on my way out of town, doing something, you know. And they were just swamped. They were just, like, covered up. And every table that didn't have customers at it had dirty dishes on it, and it was just like everyone there was just running because they were just swamped. And my sister went by and said, "Don't just stand there, grab an apron and help." So I bussed the whole restaurant and cleaned every table, and I did it real fast, you know, and turned it around and got the dining room refilled with new customers, sat down and ready to go. And so afterwards, Chris offered me a job. That's the manager. And I was like, well, instead of putting me on the payroll, why don't we work something out on a barter deal? Because I really like the cooking there, and it's real close. It's just a few miles from my house. It's the closest available food and gas for me, you know. And plus, I really dig the people there. My friends are the people that work at the cafe. You know, that's pretty much my circle of friends in real life. And I do want to take a moment and say that I have 30,000 friends. Well, I guess between the friends and the frenemies, that, you know, it was my virtual friends, my YouTube friends, that got me through what would have been potentially the worst crisis of my life, that could have ended up with me literally living in a tent for a long period of time. And, you know, the miracle that happened through my friendship with you guys, with y'all. I gotta get used to saying y'all instead of you guys. Now that I'm back in Texas. But, yeah, I mean, you guys are as real to me as flesh and blood, and even though you couldn't give me a physical hug in the real world, you sent packages that hugged me in a remote way, you know. I mean, from chocolate kisses to the good old gift of cash, you know, you guys really reached out to me. And, you know, usually, I mean, it's pretty much stopped now, or no one's sending much, you know, but I get a letter every once in a while now, and it's a card, you know, just saying, keep up the good work, we're here with you, you're not alone, you know. And so anyway, but as far as friends in the actual real world go, it's kind of revolves around that cafe down there. And I'm trying to get back into the music business. I'm going to do it carefully and on my terms. And I have some definitive plans, which I'll also be sharing in this video, so just sit tight as I work my way through it. But first day at the cafe, I pretty much just washed dishes and bust tables for 3 hours. And the thing is, he wanted to put me on the payroll, but I was like, let's barter on this because, I have some expenses that other people don't necessarily incur. And, they have that stuff at the cafe, like gasoline and ice. I spend a lot of money on ice if I want to keep food at the house, and then there's also eating out. I don't do that a lot, but sometimes I didn't make it to the store, and they're closer than the store, and it's a convenience store too. So we're kind of working out just this barter thing, and he's actually ended up getting me on the cheap, and I ended up working for him for 3 hours today, which earned me lunch, a bag of ice. I got to fill up my water, and when I left, he goes, "You did a really good job today, and I feel like I need to do better by you, so you got a couple of meals coming your way." So that all adds up to pretty decent pay, and it's part of an overall philosophy that I'm having about trying to just live smaller. I think one thing that the world would agree about Americans is that we live larger than most people. Most countries rather, and that everybody is, excess is kind of the American way, but when hard times come, and I know this from having Depression-era parents, speaking of my grandma that's still alive and lived through this, and I learned from these old people. My mother, I can still ask questions about the life during the Depression, and she'll be more than happy to sit down over a cup of coffee and just spill the beans on, what it was like to live like the grapes of wrath, out of the back of an old car, tent camping with canvas tent, and picking fruit day to day just to get enough money to eat and put gas in the car to make it to the next field to pick. And that, that kind of life is something that if our economic world collapses, if our economy collapses, we're going to be right back there again. And some of you that are living large are going to suddenly find yourself unable to do the things that you once did to make a living. And so when I had to go through this major change, I didn't come out here blind. I know the situation of the world, and it's part of the reason why I split out of the Northwest, because that place is going to end up going up in flames, or going down in a tsunami or an earthquake, or one of them volcanoes are going to erupt, because we're in that kind of chaotic time period, and I can see that. And shoot, there's at least 20 channels that I know of on YouTube that are dedicated to the concept of financial collapse in America, like the X22 report. How many times, like 2 hours a day, these guys talk about what's about to go down, and and everyone's been saying it for a while, and it's just, if nothing else, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, and also I have the spiritual thing of I don't know, I live like a monk to a degree, but not really, because a monk, the title of monk kind of comes with an idea that maybe you're some kind of special holy person, that you live a perfect life, and that is not me. I'm just too big of a flirt to be that way. I'll just be honest. I'm being real. I'm a bit of a carnal man, and I struggle like anybody else. But I gotta say that I figure any day above ground and out of prison for a guy like me is good, because I got one set of cousins that all three of them been to prison, and one of them died there, of HIV, and so, well, AIDS. You get the HIV, that gives you the AIDS apparently, but yeah, not a way I'd want to go. My sister died from hepatitis C and drinking herself to death, so the fact that I've lived a normal life and raised some kids and done the right thing by the world and tried to walk the straight and narrow, proves I'm walking in the right direction. And one of my favorite lines, I believe, is in Romans. Therefore now there is no condemnation for them who are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. So I don't got to be right. I just got to be walking in the right direction most of the time, as best I can. It's more that way than that way. Always forward. And but with that in mind, I've just embraced a simple life. I believe that the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money, but the love of it. And I'm determined not to love it. And plus, I'm also being pragmatic about, I got the solar panels out here, and, I hope to sink a well out here with a hand pump. And I've just decided to live more like they did in the old days, because if things go as predicted, you're all going to have to be living this way. And I thought I just might get it started first. Just get to it now before I have to have it, before I have to live this way. So I'm making barter deals with people for my labor and my time. And now, having said that, at the same time, I hedge my bets. I play both sides against the middle. It's just part of it's the chess master in me, right? And, I read the Proverbs forwards and backwards, and there's a lot of wisdom in there. And I sit around half my life with old gray-headed men picking their brains because there's a lot of wisdom in there. And I didn't come by the name sage for nothing, because sage really just means wise man. And so wisdom says that, things are going to go south sooner or later, and I might as well get ready for it. And also, I feel a moral obligation to kind of shun, for myself, no judgment. You'll never hear judgment coming out of this channel ever. If you ever hear judgment coming out of this channel, call me down, and we'll discuss whether I think that's judgment or whether it's just describing reality, But, and I understand that, I had a different outlook when I had kids. When I had kids to take care of, I had to do what was best for them. But I also took a very different approach on kids. A lot of people, they say, "Oh, well, you never stop being a parent. You're going to be taking care of them well into their 30s or whatever." And I'm like, "No, I'm not." My old man acted like the lions do. When that lion cub gets big enough to challenge the big old lion at all, he just runs him off, and the little lion can go start his life someplace else or die at the hands of his old man. That's how I was done. Now, my baby mama would not let me do that to my kids, but at the same time, I told him, "Look, I gave you my DNA, and I got a free education. My sister, your Aunt Bobby, she got a free education, right? So, you guys get you a free education." My son decided not to after high school, although he could have probably been an archery scholarship any place that had an archery program. Kid set a national, a Texas record at a national event that'll never be broken in high school archery. Champion. His high school was champion like all 4 years he was in high school. They were state champion archers. He'd been to Bowling Green, Kentucky for the national championship out there. But he didn't want to go to college. It was a decision he made. My daughter got associate's degree, didn't cost her one penny. And she has no debt, from that. But I wasn't going to be the parent that just continued taking care of them. It's like you need to sprout wings and fly. You're getting a better jump start than I did. And, I make sure they got cars and whatever they needed to have. And, I paid their rent when they needed to. I help them out. But for the most part, it's been get it together, And, but anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought. Let's talk about music for a minute, though. Because, let's assume, going back to the wisdom thing, that I'm going to hedge my bet that the world's going to keep on trucking, and maybe we're not going to end up in a civil war. Maybe we're not going to end up fighting the communists for control of the world, and maybe this isn't the end times. Maybe I got it all wrong, right? So I'm always going to have that plan B. I got a saying, plan A, plan B, plan C through Z. We got plans, and my plans have plans. And so I try to be prepared for whatever comes down the road. So in the event good times are coming, and people keep buying records, and people keep, getting paid to make music, then what's next for me as a musician? Because, I started to get back in the honky-tonk grind, and just after going out, to the stockyards and watching some friends of mine play, and trying to hang with them all night, sing with them from the side stage, and not even perform, just be there and dance a little bit, just to replicate the effects of being a performer and trying to be in that environment, and not even expending the energy to play, I was exhausted. I was falling asleep at the wheel, even with me leaving an hour and a half before they were done playing. And I'm just not sure that I'm up to it anymore. You know, you get over 50, it gets a little harder. Everything gets a little harder. But my hands are faster than they've ever been, and I'm as accurate as I've ever been. And I feel like I'm really plugged into what's going on with country music right now, especially in Texas, with a kind of music called red dirt. And when I left 7 years ago, red dirt wasn't really a well-defined sound. It was a movement. It was an idea. They had some people signed out of it, but it really wasn't crystallized in what I would call a sound. It was kind of all over the place. Now, red dirt's got a sound. And, man, my son's all bent out of shape about this, what they're calling it country trap, which is a new kind of country hip-hop rap combination thing. Yeah, you can check it out. There's somebody collaborated with Billy Ray Cyrus on a track that went to, I don't even know, you guys know more about this than I do, but I'm kind of getting aware of that from my son, who wants to rap. I mean, he's a writer, he's a lyricist. And so, you know, I've got that happening, and at the same time, this red dirt scene's really solidified here in Texas. And down in the stockyards, you can see some amazing bands. And I guess I just kind of, I don't know, I've been praying for direction, and I feel like my next step in music is to be more active as a studio player and a producer for country acts. You know, I'm going back to Oregon to tour and support for about, I guess I'm going to be there about 7 weeks. I'll be gone, 6 or 7 weeks. And on my way out there, I'm going to stop and see some boys I saw down in the stockyards who are out of Stillwater, Oklahoma. I wish I don't have the name of the band right handy on me, but one of the best fiddlers I ever seen stand on a stage. And, you know, he's a young guy, just bushy hair and bearded. It's kind of funny. But he's just the most confident fiddler, and he has that laid out on your arm kind of low, you know, with your head up, kind of fiddling style of the Cajun. You know, he's got that Cajun Louisiana fiddle style, and they're out of northern Oklahoma. And I'm like, well, I'm going through northern Oklahoma. I'm going to go about 400 miles out of my way to catch these cats play on my way back to Oregon. And I'm going to stop off in Denver and pick up a gig there on the next Saturday night out of Denver, I think. And, you know, coming up soon. And, you know, because I got to get back to tour and support for this record that I recorded with Strumshine. And you guys have seen, I've released some snippets of that album. And it's available for pre-order, I think. And I should probably put up that link. Maybe I'll do that when I post this up, if I can find it. But at any rate, I want to drive around everywhere where because this red dirt music is producing bands out of little towns like Stillwater, you know, little suburbs, and there's some amazing musicians that are crystallizing together and working really hard to feed this new scene that stretches from Denver to Austin and from, I don't know, from New Mexico to, you know, Missouri and Arkansas and places like that, Louisiana, Far East Texas. It's really producing a new kind of music that's greatly affecting what Nashville is selecting. And what I like about the red dirt scene is it's operating underneath that level. See, there's that level where you got to sign for the deal with the devil. But yet, if you play just under that level, you can actually make money, and you can actually survive, and you can actually be a musician without taking their mandatory deal, because it's considered small pickings. It's kind of like my whole life, I've just kind of lived by picking up the crumbs that fall off the table of these people that control the thing that I was born to do, which is make music. And so I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry about it. I just deal with it. And so I have this new idea of becoming this kind of circuit preacher, but it's music. And I just kind of go from little small town, and I cut this little record with these guys and sleep on their couch or whatever and make music with them and produce them. And then I tip my hat, and I go to the next place and I do it again. And I just make little trips like that because I'm centrally located here. You know, I'm kind of halfway between the Oklahoma line. The Red River is considered the center of the red dirt country. I'm about halfway between Fort Worth and you know, Oklahoma City, really. I'm just like right, you know, I'm in the heart of what's considered red dirt. It's where I live, and it's down there in the stockyards being played, and it's this mix of Texas swing and country and bluegrass and rock. And like this band that I'm gonna go see in Stillwater, the bottom end of their music is like prog rock. It's almost like speed metal. Like the drummer could be in a metal band, and the bass player is just like bad to the bone. I mean, he could be like I don't know. I felt like there was a Dave Matthews edge to him, and some of that music is really complex, rhythmically and melodically and harmonically, and then with that fiddler laid out on top of it, it was just like all they're missing is some premium songs that have solid hooks and a production. So, I'm going to start scouting these guys that are like this, trying to get them to pay me to play on their record and also for credit and build my reputation of being a studio guy. Because that I can do. That's a speed I can handle. But that all night honky-tonkin', 45-minute on stage, 15-minute break, 45-15, 45-15, driving 100 miles to make $100, It was fun because there was a lot of reason to do it in the old days, but not so much anymore. And the legacy of my music is what I'm more concerned about now than the party. I want to leave behind a mark of the thing God gave me. And I already have. My discography is ridiculous. Like, I've got so much recorded music, and a lot of it I don't even have ownership of or access to. I mean, I can't remember the names of bands that I've been in the studio and done. I made 3 records in the last 4 years. I did the thing with Strumshine. I did the thing with another band, which I won't name because we didn't end on good terms. And then there was this other project with the guy who was a really old man. And he had been in the music business in the early 70s. And he had put together a band of some of the best musicians that were studio Nashville musicians who played on all the big name records. And he wanted to make his own record, so he got these guys together because he was one of them. And he was like a sideman, going to make a big record. And they started recording, and he got it almost ready to release when the people, the record label who these other writers and musicians and sidemen were involved with, they just served them with a cease and desist order because they were all under contract. And they were just demanding, basically saying he wasn't allowed to do that. And the Nashville business shut him down. And he mothballed the record and the masters, and he put them in storage, right? And then here we are, 30 years later, almost 40 years later? Math, yeah, 40 years later, because this was just a couple years back I did this record. And he pulls these masters out with these great musicians, and he figures nobody cares now. I mean, everybody's dead, who cares, and he's dying. So he pays me to go into Portland because he goes looking for the best country piano player in the Pacific Northwest because he's based out of Portland. And he just goes asking around, and all the fingers keep pointing back to me. And he finally comes into the music store where I work, and he tells me about this deal, and I agree to do it. So he paid me, like union level pay, to go out to Portland, and I'm cutting records with guys that are dead. Like the other people I'm sinking in and laying my piano track on in a studio. Basically they're trying to make it sound just like it did in those days. They're trying to insert me into this music that was recorded when I was a little kid, right? It was actually a really cool project. And anyway, so yeah, that was a fun project. And I just want to do more stuff like that. I just want to do, that's kind of obviously rare, but I just want to do more studio work. I love the Strumshine project. We were out there at Pirate Llama Studios with John Dark. Man, he was just, we were in a barn with a wood stove, just creating. That's what I was born to do. And so if I'm going to really work at getting paid, I'm going to try to work at getting paid at what I do. But, there's really not much money in it. A lot of these up-and-comers can't afford to pay much. But I just really want to kind of spread my seed musically into this scene, into this red dirt scene here, and leave a mark on it. I left my mark on Deep Ellum, that big scene in Dallas, that produced my friend Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, and Sarah Hickman and people like that, and I know Polyphonic Spree and the Pixies. But anyway, and then I left my mark. I left my mark in Christian contemporary music. I don't really get into naming my influences there. It was more, I think I influenced that scene more by being present than what I did. Like, I inspired people, and I inspired some copies, of me that did better than I did. And here I am again. I'd like to leave my mark, leave my chops on the red dirt scene. And so I think that's my next project musically. And I'm going to work down here at the cafe. I got to go away and do my tour and come back. And so that's pretty much what's going on with me. I'm going to put the well on hold right now because I've got this Oregon trip. And Charm's husband from Strumshine, he does well drilling. And he was actually, had a portfolio in the studio. And he was, I won't say he was passionate about something that I was like, oh, okay, well digging, okay, And I had no idea that I'd be faced with, trying to acquire water on my property less than 6 months later after that conversation. I'd have paid closer attention. But, he does this well drilling thing. He's got all these pictures of the different projects he works on, and it's what he does for a living. And so I'm going to pick his brain because he was telling me that you can rent your own drilling machine and you can sink your own well, and it's nobody's business but yours. And people do it all the time, and it's called a small diameter well. And because it's a small diameter well, it fits through there's a loophole, right, in most places that allows you to still do that because it's for livestock. It's a shallow well. And I know I got water just barely under the surface. Like, I'm on top of a underwater river. And, I'm pretty sure we're just going to hit water if we could just get a hole in the ground, And so thinking about doing that on the DL, But anyhow, so I'm kind of holding off on the well, and I'm really self-maintained here. I am still working on the electric thing, getting that built. I'm having a hard time finding the components, But anyway, yeah, that's the update on the place. That's kind of the future of what I'm doing, and I'm digging the new job, just washing dishes, and I do it for like 3 hours, and they pay me in food and goods and whatever I need, and that and hardly no bills, and YouTube pays my car payment. I'm kind of almost there. Still a little scared. But I'm going to try to make this music thing pan out for me too as well. And I'll come back from my Oregon trip with some money because I'm going to sell a bunch of junk I own there, and I'm going to earn some money on this tour, and I'm going to take you guys along on my trip with me every stop of the way. You'll get to see these boys out of Stillwater. I'm going to put them on my channel and promote them because they got it going on. Even if they don't pick me to play on the record, I'm still going to promote them. So we'll keep you posted on that. So this has been a long ramble, but I couldn't help myself. I'm sitting out here on my front porch, and the weather is perfect. It's just, there's just enough wind to keep the skeeters moving, and so they can't set on you, and it's the perfect temperature. It's almost like going swimming in a heated pool. It's just like right now, it's awesome. So I thought, I'm going to make a video. I'm just going to ramble on and update everybody on what's going on with me. I know I haven't been making a lot of videos lately because I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I had to come up with my next move. And so here you go. That's what's going on. And of course, always, I'm going to keep doing my videos, keep the coffee talks coming. Don't forget to support this channel and help me along the way. I don't love money. I ain't trying to get rich, but at the same time, it'd be nice that, I didn't have to worry about the necessities, and, I ain't asking for much, just enough to get by. And, other people will, I'm building this empire kingdom of broadcasting. Not really. I'm just like you. I'm just a guy on the sidelines kind of watching the world go to heck in a handbasket, man. It's all falling apart. Oh, God save our republic.